What's going on, everybody? Week 7, going through every single game on the slate. Player prop bets predominantly. We'll definitely talk about game lines that I've bet already, but we're going to focus on finding player prop bets for the entirety of the week. Good stream last night. We missed out on our long shots, which is never a bad thing, but we hit Roman Wilson over longest reception, and we hit what was the other one? We hit fans over receptions as well that we both gave out on stream. My pre-stream play of Jaylen Warren, unfortunately, was a major dud, but 2-1 on the straight bets, dropping the juice on the long shots ended up being like a plus 0.55 unit Thursday night. So always nice to lead off the week into some profit right now. Going through the whole slate, boys. So give me a second to get out the promo. Going through player props for every game. Let's get all the boys in chat as always, and comments are always open. So there's a player you guys are interested in, a game matchup outlook you guys are interested in, feel free to let me know. We'll be using props.cash today, and I'll always use some FTN to pull up some advanced data if we want a little bit more context, but sticking to mostly props.cash. A couple of props so far, not a ton. So we'll go through again every single game and find exactly what we're looking for here. One last promo to get everybody out. And let's do it. So, fun game last night, man. Joe Flacco on fire. Aaron Rodgers almost coming back and getting that W, but the Bengals were inevitable. Shout out to Todd. He was all over the Bengals on the spread and also called out money line. The Roman Wilson stuff, he did have some good opportunities. He played a lot of snaps, and we hit the longest reception prop is the one bet that we actually took in regards to Roman Wilson. So, let's dive into it. So we have a quick comment here. What are the prop picks, brother? We're getting right into them. We just started going 2 minutes ago flat. So thanks for hopping in, Andre. Appreciate it. Stick around. We're talking about all of the prop picks. And for you, Andre, I'm going to start with a game that I already have 2 props bet in. Normally, we're going to go through all the games, but let me go directly to these to a game at 1 p.m. that I already have bet a couple of things in. And Philly, Minnesota. I already have bet here 2 reception props on the Minnesota side. I think Minnesota is the right side in this game. I like them money line. I have not bet them yet, and I'll pull up some odds on my other screen as well to talk about some of the game line stuff right now. Minnesota is getting 2 at some shops, 2.5 at some shops, 1.5 at some shops, plus 115-ish on the money line, total 44.5. First prop I bet, though, is Jettas. I bet is over. The 78.5 at Sleeper, if you guys are Sleeper users, this is a great number. Otherwise, this 80.5 at Fanatics, 81.5 at DraftKings is good. I got in early and got a 78.5, but I'm all over Jettas in this one. Carson Wentz going against his old team, not that that really means anything, but looking at the numbers for Jettas, who, of course, one of the top receivers in all of football, as you know, it doesn't really need an introduction there. We've seen teams have a lot of success against Philly, especially other running back, the receivers, excuse me. And especially guys who are like some of the top tier options. So what am I looking for here? Reception yards, wide receivers on the season. There we go. We saw Wandale, who was essentially WR1 with all the injuries there. He absolutely went off. Sutton, of course, WR1 for the Broncos went off. Ekbuka, WR1 for the Buccaneers. He went off. Puka Nacua. The list goes on and on. So realistically, CeeDee Lamb as well. So we're talking about, yes, like not a great quarterback in Carson Wentz, but we have seen some pretty solid outputs, 123, 126 with target shares of 11 targets per game. Of course, Jett is playing a vast majority of the snaps. 7 receptions in 10 in his last 2 games. And while those numbers really don't mean like all too much to me, like hit rates in football, especially because there's so much turnover and so much randomness as well. Jetta's over receiving yards is one of my favorite plays. Philly's secondary is very beatable. Wentz, of course, is a pumpkin, but I do expect them to feed Jetta's, even though, of course, Addison is back and looks like, fortunately for himself, he won't be, committing any infractions to miss some time. Like we saw, he had that first quarter benching because he went out to explore London, which to some degree is a bit hilarious there. But Jetta's over receiving yards, locked and loaded. And I have another prop in this one as well that I bet, and we will go through every single game. But I bet Hockenson receptions, and then this one I think is still available. I bet these this morning, honestly. That Jettas I bet at 11:05, and this Hawk I bet at just around there, 11:22. But I bet Hockenson over receptions. I'm going to go to the right game, of course. Philly Min, TJ Hawk. I heard Hitman talking about this a bit ago, and look at these hit rates. Not that again they matter from like he hit rate. Now he's going to continue to hit, but from a target perspective, Carson Wentz in his career has always been a tight end guy, and as we see with the Carson Wentz starts, 5, 4, and 6 in terms of receptions. Snap count is still relatively solid. He had one bit of a dip of the game, but averaging over 39.6% of snaps when healthy. Receptions doing well. Targets, so the target share isn't absolutely massively high. Of course, Jettas dominates that, and now we have Addison back in the mix. But I don't think if anybody's going to get the short end of the stick in the passing game, with, of course, I expect Jettas to turn up. I do think Addison's a very good football player, all things considered. But I think Hockenson is still absolutely going to be one of the top options, and we're getting a line of just 4, 3.5 minus 110, though I did see a 105. But right now, this 110 at MGM is the best price in market. So as somebody who does like the Vikings overall, I know Carson Wentz is obviously scary to back. They get pressure on Wentz. It's always going to be a tough one for him. He's a sack, fumble, turnover, interception waiting to happen. But the Vikings are coming off the bye. The Eagles are kind of on this downslope, and their passing defense has been poor realistically all season long. And Props.Cash's projections as well. They have projected for 3.75 receptions for Hawk, a line of minus 110 here for Hockenson. These are the 2 bets that I have taken so far in this one. I also, again, from a game line, I do like Minnesota. I have not bet them yet, so not going to like pound the table just yet on the record here, but I am a fan of TJ Hockenson, Minnesota, and of course Justin Jefferson. In terms of some other props here, we'll take a look at some other numbers. Like I kind of am tempted to bet some Arthur, some AJB. Obviously, it's been a very bad season overall. Did get his 80 yards against the Giants there, 109 against the Rams. He's been just having a terrible season, especially compared to last year, where he had a bunch of monster games, though I do believe AJB is a stud. It's kind of a question of like if you expect Flores to like really, turn up and like absolutely dominate the Philly offensive game plan, which is absolutely possible the way he runs his defense and how good he's been. But we have seen some receivers, like DK, that was a benefactor of a big run there, big catch and run, but he had 126. Zacchaeus had to go over. Odunze was held back, but DJ Moore got over. Though they did hold London, Mooney, and McLeod, but that was some McCarthy start as well for the Vikings. I'm intrigued by this number, 59.5. Let's see if there's anything like better, any like rogue prices. Underdog, this is a good square, absolutely, based on the odds and how they're off market a bit. I'm intrigued by AJ Brown, have my eye on it, but I'm not locking it in just yet. Strongest opinions are on Jettas and Hockenson, and also Jettas a touchdown. Let's look at some of the odds here. 140 to DraftKings. Would like it to be a bit better, but I actually do think Jettas is live for a tutty. So I'm going to write down also the rest of like the leans I have. I have the bets that I've taken, locked and loaded, obviously, because I have bet them already and have them tracked on Pickett. Where are my notes here? Because I keep everything in one. Here we go. Okay, so W7, Jettas TD, AJB, rec yards. Very square. Obviously, in this game, I am targeting the big dogs. Not going to deny that. I'm out here saying I think Jettas is going to do well, and AJ Brown. Big props for finding that deep down the board. I'll get there. Don't you guys worry. But that really is where I'm sticking to in this game. I am targeting the big dogs for overs. But let's keep rocking it. Let's go game by game as always. LAR, Jacksonville, overseas in London. Now, this is a game that I talked about with Jake a bit, and it's a game where I think now we're sitting at 3.5, mostly threes actually, in market. I like some Trevor Lawrence fades, honestly. His passing touchdowns, the under, it's gotten hit big time. It was lower here. I saw it like 150. 177, I still honestly don't hate it. The Rams D has been very good against the pass, and as well as as we saw the pressure rates for them with the happening in Seattle where Trevor Lawrence is running for his life all game. I think it's going to be very difficult for Trevor Lawrence to manufacture any downfield passing. I mean, he still did have 2 passing touchdowns in that one, but overall this season it's been a tough time for him to throw too, especially because you have ETN who's been doing really well. His rush attempts per game is 14.5 as his line. Kyron is 17.5. dig a little bit deeper down the board here and see some stuff here. I haven't bet anything just yet in this game, but glad to lock something in with you guys right now if we do find some value. Because there are a couple of spots that I am at least intrigued by. By Shell Tootin, I'm intrigued by. I know he's got under his number in his rushing share. Still hasn't been so high. I mean, only 4.5 rush attempts a game on average. Only 2 against Seattle in the game that they couldn't do anything. They got really dominated on the defensive line, on the offensive line. Let's go to some running backs here. Rush yards. King Henry went over. They held McCaffrey and under. They also held JT under and Saquon, who's had a bad year. But Pollard and Chubb did get over against this Rams defense so far this year. This is such a low number. What's his receptions, though? We're at now no odds available for 2 receptions. Okay, interesting. And his touchdown, 370, 380 at FanDuel. Interesting, because I could see them. I do see this as being like a fun game going back and forth, honestly. I anticipate there to be some fun on both ends. But let's keep rocking into some numbers here because we know that we're expecting Puka Nacua to not play. I don't know if it's confirmed that he isn't. I'll pull up Underdog here for the boys and read through any injury reports that came in this morning. I haven't been on top of them since stream last night. Let's get Underdog going and see if there is news on Puka. Let's see. McCarthy, emergency QB3. That's fine. Wentz will start. We knew that. McVay, Rams optimistic Puka will be ready for week 9 because they have a bye in week 8. So I'm assuming that is confirmed that Puka Nacua is not out. Excuse me, is out. And as we're seeing with Davante Adams at 83.5 receiving yards, so that's kind of another indicator there. This might be way too high. I know Jaguars' pass defense is really poor. They're definitely a pass funnel. Like JSN cooked them. Tyquan Thornton deep down the field was able to cook them. He dominates the target share as well without Puka. Even with Puka, like doesn't dominate the share with Puka. Of course, Puka dominates, but as you can see here, averaging 9.2 targets a game. But his catch rate hasn't been great because they've just been like missing out on a bunch of, in some cases, honestly, easy pitching catches. Now it's easier for me to say it's easy. They're at 3 times fast, but you guys, I'm sure you guys watched the game yourselves and saw it yourselves. Like there were opportunities where, like last week in the back of the end zone, just off the tip of Davante Adams' fingertips, a bit high of a throw. Watching a bunch of Rams games this year, that has been the case relatively often this year. I don't think it's really a product of like any like serious issues between Davante Adams as well as Stafford. I just think it's football, and in times you're gonna like be missing receivers. But now the questions are if this is too high, because can Davante Adams like really play the role that Puka plays with all the quick intermediate routes, all the third down possessions? Once upon a time, Davante Adams absolutely could, and I don't think Tays Washer even close to that. Just these numbers are really high as like the clear go-to guy in this matchup without Puka Nacua. And where could that also provide some more value? This is obviously not on the same side, but if Parker Washington's only at 1.5, this is definitely intriguing. MGM at 165, 144 at FanDuel. The under actually showing value at MGM, which is interesting here. Because Parker Washington, 4.2 targets a game to get 2 catches, especially considering like if we can anticipate Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter continuing to not look so hot overall. This is an interesting one. I definitely want to try to find some value here and get something locked in. So right now, Parker Washington's on my eye here, even though we're seeing some EV to the under. This 131 at DK is definitely intriguing if that line still exists. I'll pull it up in a second here. BTJ 4.5. This says like I saw this here. This is 5.5 juice to the under. A lot of books was there, and we're seeing a lot of overs. Magnifico. Yesterday's game was a gold mine. It was, brother. If you picked correctly, tight end slips. It was. We ended up profitable last night. Nothing crazy, like 0.55 units, but never going to be bad about profit. But did you hit a crazy slip, Magnifico, last night? Where was your reaction? Because I know you were, of course, in chat. The Roman Wilson stuff, I think, was an absolutely good read. He was playing so many snaps, and he went over his longest reception line, which was what we had the most equity on, the entire from stream. BT did touchdown 165, Corum low, Stafford no. Lakeith Allen, he is a fun guy, though I don't think there'd be really any value here. Obviously, he hasn't scored. He does play a lot of pass protection stuff, but let's see. What's his like target share? Does he get targets? Like, no, 1 reception here. There's a third down back. Great name, Lakeith Allen. Anytime stuff, Kyron, juice low, BTJ not so great. Adams is being priced as a Rams wide receiver one should be. A Jonathan Chase anytime touchdown. Nice on that. That's a beautiful hit, brother. Love that. Love that. I had the Fant first tutty. Of course, he ended up scoring later in the game, so doesn't pay. But it was, fun to see a guy that you bet against the end zone. It's always nice, and especially when you did profit of the night, regardless. But Tutu Atwell. Let's see the odds here because he's intriguing to me as well. The deep ball threat that Tutu brings definitely is one of the issues that that the Jaguars have. So JSN cook him deep down the field. Thornton couldn't score, but he was cooking him deep down the field. Nico Collins, of course, WR1 getting there. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, both deep ball studs here. I'm locking in Tutu right now. Let me pull a FanDuel on my phone here, and I'm betting that. I'm a big fan of Tutu to score. Let me get my notes up as well. So I'm writing everything down that we play and that, of course, we lean. This one to me is the play at 380. I think that the implied probability of the snaps that he'll be getting, now let's dig into some other numbers here. Obviously, his numbers aren't going to, jump off the screen. He has those two massive outputs, but this is a game where he could break one deep down the field. And let's actually look at longest reception as well. So, yeah, they're pricing him straight up as just like a deep downfield target, which, absolutely makes sense here. Target share going up a bit without Puka. Snap share, of course, also going up. So it's like, who's going to be the beneficiary of some of the action without Puka? Of course, the books are quickly targeting Davante Adams, which again is like very understandable. But this 380 on FanDuel is available, so I'm locking that in and betting it now. Tutu Atwell, anytime TD, plus 380. Considering where the Jaguars struggle deep down the field passing, if the Rams O-line, which has held up pretty well, holds up, I'm all for it. And Indivico's got an NBA question for me, brother. Drop it. Talk to me. Where's your head at? Glad to answer any NBA questions. We'll definitely be doing a bunch of NBA streams with Ty and Solo over the course of the season. We'll definitely get some more special guests here. Ty had me excited last night because toward the end of stream, he was talking about his NBA process, and Ty and I worked with some NBA stuff about a year ago, and he got me excited to get back to it and get to it. So very interested in your question here, Magnifico. We'll move on here. Like, I think like the Tay stuff, it's very debatable, or it's very like fair to like want to fade because it's so high at this point without Puka. Definitely try to look at some other guys like down the line, like Jordan Whittington, to expect his target share to go up. But my target is Tutu Atwell. So fan of Tutu in the early game. I'll be streaming Sunday morning as well. So that is my best play for this one is Tutu anytime. I got Golden State Warriors at 3.5 before LeBron got ruled out. Now it's 1.5. I think I should play the middle. Yeah, honestly, absolutely. You have some time, right? Because what's tips in 6 days, 5 days. So I would see where the market goes because like maybe that middle does get to like 2.5, 3.5. If it goes to like even, you still have like a good amount of points to play with. And you're going to be dealing with, of course, like the most efficient line possible there because you're going to be right before tip-off or like the day of tip-off. So I think I would absolutely try to middle that. Middling is like really a great strategy in efficient markets. And NBA totals and game lines, totals and spreads, they're efficient. I think you have a big enough margin there for NBA where that's a fun looking middle. Honestly, I would middle that myself. Patriots and Titans. So this is an ugly one from like a matchup standpoint. Patriots laying 7.5. Diggs questionable. I actually knew that. So obviously there's a lot of times where there will be, the coach that gets fired. There's like kind of like a buy spot for the team where they have their new interim head coach. But I talked about this on stream the other day. Like, I just think that the talent gap is just so damn low for the Titans. Like, they just might not be an NFL team. I mean, obviously, like they beat a college team, et cetera, but like they're really like low on that. With that being said, like I think it's going to be difficult for the Titans to get there. And back to that Tutu, I just got a DM that he's actually 425 at MGM, so it wasn't showing up on the props.cash odds screen. But if you're interested in Tutu, good call out. I missed it. That's on me. Obviously, always get the best price whenever available. I was bad betting there by me. Let's look at booty. So like this Titans defense is actually pretty good. It's more like, do you think that like we could find some value on like Io Manor or definitely not Tyler Lockett at this point, or I guess potentially like Van Jeff, Pollard. Of course, now we have Spears back in the mix as well. But the Patriots defense, as well as like so much of the hype has been on Drake May and the offense, which of course is deservingly so. Drake May is absolutely freaking balling out, looking like a stud. The defense has become a lot more respectable as well, especially with Christian Gonzalez back. Like this unit is pretty decent. So I don't think Cam Ward is just going to like, I saw his quotes, like, if I play the way I want to play, like, we'll have so much more success. I don't necessarily like buy that. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't think more like Ward's like a bad quarterback moving forward. Like as it stands now, he's a bad quarterback. But again, a guy making his 7th career start, I'm not saying he's horrific or he doesn't have potential. But I don't think that the Titans are going to be able to just like bounce back, especially going against Vrabel in his first return to Tennessee as a head coach now. Some tight end stuff. I mean, like, this is a situation where, again, like the Patriots are just like so much better. How are the Titans doing against tight ends this year? They held out Juwan. Knox went over. Kincaid, though, again, this is New England, excuse me. Kincaid, he plays more of like a slot. Treble got to them. But then let's switch on over to the Titans defense against tight ends here, because Hunter Henry at 3.5 is definitely already interesting. Mary went over, McBride under, Schultz went over, Warren, Higbee. Hunter Henry with the target share he gets, especially with Diggs being out, his share has dropped a bit, which is a little concerning because he hasn't even gotten enough targets to go over. But this is with Diggs being, again, questionable. And I'm pulling up Underdog again to see if I missed any more pertinent news for this game or any game realistically. Ridley was ruled out. Okay. I actually did miss that 2 hours ago. Was not playing Friday. Diggs is questionable with the chest injury. We know that. Okay, so that's the big news really for this game. But Hunter Henry without Diggs, if Diggs doesn't play, like he's already has the trust of the young Drake May. Ingram got under, but they have so many mouths to feed. Gesicki went over in that one, who was clearly, TE1, though Fant has taken over. Gesicki, of course, hurt. Schultz, McBride. I like this. I'm writing it down. Hunter Henry. 3.5 Rex. I'm a fan of that, honestly. And let's check out the touchdowns quickly here. See if there's anything that pops off the screen. See, 155 for Tutty. 180 here at Caesars. Not seeing anything for MGM on PC, but that is interesting. Booty at 190. At this point, like I think he's getting too much love. I know he scored twice. This 250 at DK, though, that's EV compared to the 190 at FanDuel. At DK, if this is still there, I'll check right now for the boys. Like that could also be a play, but I also got to check MGM because that is absolutely so off price to FanDuel, and FanDuel definitely being sharper in these markets. I was going to say that I'm honestly not a fan of the Booty stuff just because I think it's a little bit overhyped, though I do think he is definitely a good player who's on the rise here, a young player, of course. That 250 is there on DK. That's absolutely worthwhile. So, Keyshawn Booty plus 250. Write that down. Booty, ATTS, plus 250. Gotta always do the best odds. Check out if anyone can check MGM, let me know as well. So this one, we'll keep it short and sweet for this one. We have a bunch of games going through everybody, and here's a game where I do have a bet that I've taken already as well. Bears, Saints. I like the Saints ATS, but I found a mispriced prop. It's gone, unfortunately. But I like Olamide Zaccheaus. I got him at 275. We're seeing the best at 195 at Fanatics now. That was actually at MGM, so maybe it's still on MGM. I'll check for everybody right now. Hasn't scored yet, but as we saw, he dropped like a very easy touchdown pass. Not touchdown pass, but like a long reception he could have had. Hasn't scored yet this season, of course, but the snap percentages are just going up, and we know DJ Moore is banged up as well. Let me pull up on MGM if this is still there, actually, for Olamide Zaccheaus, because this is a really good price compared to market, as you can see. It's still there. She's 75 on MGM, so I'll definitely call that a play. Zaccheaus. Let's go to some reception yard stuff, just to get some like target share. Like he's getting 5.6 targets per game. He is playing again a lot of snaps. Reception numbers are low because Caleb's inaccurate and he's dropped some passes. But as you see here, like his receptions that are catchable, they're not great. He had a couple of drops against his old team. There was a little bit of weather there as well. But I think this Zaccheaus to this point for a touchdown at the price is definitely great. Bet UFC, yeah, bro. I love betting UFC. I have a bunch of definitely still have like a market approach. I'm not like so in the weeds with like DWCS where like, I know like a big fighter who's mismatched, but I do know definitely generally speaking, there are a lot of edges to be found in UFC, especially with like underknown or lesser known fighters in the DWCS as well as just like on the prelims and cards. Like if you really know a guy and you know their opponent and like their styles, like you can find massive value on the UFC. So for this one, Zaccheaus is up there for me. One of my favorite plays of the week for him to score a touchdown here. Some other stuff as well. I was looking for touchdowns, and Jake and I talked about this on stream Wednesday. I like Kendre Miller. Like Kamara, of course, is still not going anywhere. This 330 at FanDuel looks good. I'm gonna write this down here. I already have it written from Wednesday, but I'll double it down. Kendre TD. He is still getting a bunch of action overall. Like overall for backup running back, like 39% of the snaps is solid. He has scored already this season with a big red zone rushing attempt game against Buffalo. And Chicago, their run defense played the best game of their season against Washington last week, but it's been their Achilles heel all year long. And I think that Kendre Miller and the Saints are going to probably try to run the ball right down their throat again, because I don't think that was like they made like this massive fix going into that. Going for the rest of the season, I think they just did a massive fix for the Washington game in particular, cutting off their bye, knowing that it's Washington's MO and knowing that it's been where they've been getting killed offensively and defensively. So I like Kendre Miller to be the beneficiary. But this 8K 175 is also pretty sexy, I'm not going to lie. Like Davey Grant moneyline a lot tomorrow, plus 140, and could even be bigger live. Yeah. I'm not familiar with Davey Grant, to be honest with you, but I'm down to tail. I have an odds screen up on the other side here. Let me for you, I'll find the best odds here. Let's see. Going to UFC, main markets. What's his name? Davey Grant. Davey Grant. Where is he? Davey Grant. Money line. I want just money line. Davey Grant. Yeah, there's a plus 145 at ESPN, plus 146 Penny, plus 145 ESPN. Yeah, so the Davey Grant money lines. Quick UFC talk. This FanDuel price is so interesting for Kamara. Like, I think that he can absolutely still be a factor that we're seeing Kendre eat into the snaps a bit. So I actually prefer the plus money odds or like the better odds on Kendre than Alvin, but that's interesting to me. We also saw the Saints kind of, get beat by some deep downfield stuff. I'm intrigued by Rome. He didn't get over against Dallas and against Washington, 2 games where you think it's like a great matchup. But I think this is just as good of a matchup, realistically. The Saints secondary not being so hot. And again, we're seeing like deep ball to Booty get over there. Demario Douglas as well get flying over. In that Giants game, they had a lot of fumbles and really relied on running the ball. And if Swift is also out, I know he's banged up, and DJ Moore is as well. Keon Coleman went over, Khalil Shakir, JSN, of course, and Dog, Juwan Jennings, and Pearsall. I like Rome. I think this 65.5. Let's see some of the other numbers in market. Sleeper, great leg, prize pick, great prize pick square here. The 64.5 at FanDuel. I'm going to write this down as well. Rome. Rack yards. I, of course, will be looking for some unders. Don't get me wrong. I'm just like thinking this is like a bit of a discount. Like it's kind of priced accordingly based on like the last couple of weeks as we've been seeing. But with that being said, I think it is actually a much better matchup than like you would think on paper, especially if Moore doesn't go. He was in the hospital. I just saw a tweet about him actually. I'm going to Underdog. Not listed on injury report for week 7. So hopeful that DeAndre Swift and DJ Moore play, but we know that Rome is definitely the target, and like Caleb tried forcing it to him too a couple of times. Like luckily didn't get picked, but like Washington had him double covered deep. He still chucked it deep down the field trying to get it to him. So they're still going to be targeting Rome Odunze, especially down the field. So I like Rome for receiving yards, but his anytime being minus 105. I mean, I guess he deserves it considering his like red zone target share, his overall snap percentage, his targets overall, and the fact that he's hit in every game except for one so far. So he deserves to be priced in this like elite wide receiver or like scorer tier for right now. But I'm not buying that. I'm not betting that, I should say. I believe it and respect it, but I will not be betting any room anytime. And if he scores, he scores. But to me, it's like not like a great bet. Let's keep ripping here. Miami, Cleveland. Okay, this one, of course, is like a bit of an ugly one, especially with the weather reports coming in. I'm curious to see what the passing yards prop have gone to with the weather. Yeah, Tua down to 186.5. He normally sits around like 200 plus. Gabriel, this 177.5 is so low. Like, I think that was around the same price he had in that Minnesota game. But again, that was against a good defense indoors. Now we have a horrible defense, but it's expected to be horrible weather, especially with wind, which is like the biggest indicator here. So until we get more like insight on weather, and like if you didn't already bet some unders at good prices, like they're probably screwed, and maybe at the point now where like overs have value. So we'll take a quick look, because like again, like maybe there is like an over, because like a Judkins over is interesting because he can just take one reception and go over. And if we are seeing a bunch of terrible winds, we could definitely expect a lot more underneath stuff from Judkins. And also same with Achane. Like, of course, his number is going to be like crazy high as it is for a running back. But with the inability to run the football that they might have, if they do stick to these like around the line of scrimmage throws, they will be definitely getting pressure with this crappy O-line against the Browns defense that's so good at home and so good on the defensive front. This is interesting, honestly. Let's look at some running backs against Cleveland. Kenny G and Warren went under. Mason Jacobs went over. Justice Hill went over. Henry went over. Hunt, Pirine, Pacheco, all going over. So it's not like they're really doing like a poor job with this underneath stuff, especially with their pass rush. But I do think, let's look at receptions actually, because I do think there is maybe some value with like the dump offs, but like 4.5 is so high for a running back. But again, Achane like undoubtedly deserves that considering his role. I mean, this MGM 105 is so off market. So let me just like confirm that, because this might just be like a pricing play. Honestly, like there's a lot of times where like you can justify your plays with like some of the data and your projections and your origination, but sometimes if the market is telling you a bet's a good bet, that's kind of all you need to know. And let me just confirm, because if that is there, that does fit it. It is just at MGM, so this is a good bet. HN over 4.5 receptions. I'm writing it down. 4.5 racks minus 105. There's EV there. DVig to FanDuel, even DK having that above that minus 105. And the weather too, with that like combination again of like short passing game, I do think is solid. And, you know, Judkins at 1.5. I think you're better off going with the receiving yards and hoping he catches one and breaks a big one, honestly. Didn't do it against Pittsburgh on one target. I know they do mix in Jerome Ford as well. And they have like Isaiah Bonds, who's been like doing a bit better. Fannon's been a very good target for them overall. But I think if they do run some dump off stuff with this weather, that Judkins getting over 10.5 receiving yards is like obviously more than in the cards here. So I also like Judkins over 10.5 rec yards. Judkins 10.5. And like I said, like at this point too, with like the weather, we could probably maybe find some overs because the unders have already been hit. But these numbers are already so low. It's like kind of over or bust. And you know how these teams perform, it's like really not great. What's touchdowns here? Like Achane being even to me is like almost an auto bet, honestly. But like expecting them to score against Cleveland is obviously asking a lot in the weather as well. But like a 105 here at DK, like whenever you get an Achane, like just look at his like production, man. Like that in itself speaks for itself. To me is like almost like an auto bet, honestly. But there's so many, again, more like outside factors. Like this is just like against Cleveland, like no like weather concerns. I would honestly just bet this and like not think twice, especially with the EV that is there. But because of the unknowns of the weather there, I'm not so intrigued. Cleveland can, of course, stop the run. They're one of the best run-stopping teams in football. The Dolphins' offense is tough. And then on the flip side, their offense is so freaking bad And their defense is so freaking bad against the pass, against the run. It doesn't matter what. Miami's offense defense is horrific, which is why the Brownies are still laying 2.5 here at home as one of the worst teams in football. But it does honestly make some sense. And with the weather stuff, unless we bet some unders already early, it's probably chalked, unfortunately. So let's keep moving here. Carolina and the Jets. I bet the under in this game. Looking at the market now, 41.5. I got 42.5, so that's at least a good point of CLV. I do expect this to be a big-time run game. But another player that I like to score, despite liking the under and the run, give me Ted McMillan, man. 175 also. This price went up. I didn't bet it on Wednesday because I thought it would. Tedero and McMillan plus 175. Give me that anytime touchdown. To me, this is pretty simple. Yes, I do expect Carolina to run. And I don't think the Jets can do much to stop that by any means. But the way that they scheme for Tet in the red zone, looking at his red zone targets, 2, 1, 2, 2, and he did have those 2 touchdowns. He can beat you on a deep ball, though, of course, we know Bryce Young's not really connecting on a bunch of those. He could beat you after the catch. So if they do get a slant, he could take that to the house. And number 3, they are clearly scheming up things for Tedero in the red zone. His touchdowns last week, I told you about this on Wednesday, in the red zone, the play was probably simply called Tet, run this route, get open, and he will throw you the football. And that's what they did. And it worked twice against the very poor Dallas defense. And Jets defense is really the same in this regard at this point. It's such a bad defense against the run, even against the pass as well. So I love Tet anytime touchdown. I would honestly prefer that over yards, which isn't normally the case, because touchdown markets being one way, high holds not better bets. You could definitely find some more value on receiving yard props here. The sleeper under, honestly, it's looking like a pretty good square, 58.5 compared to the market. But I would prefer touchdown based on everything that I was saying. They clearly have some stuff for him in the red zone where he is the focal point, and the play is pretty simply, honestly, just let Tet McMillan get open, and that's what he does. So I love Tet at this price. I think it's a very good price. Considering last week he was 150 and worse, and yes, it's quote unquote a better matchup overall, but I think that this matchup still suits him very well for the red zone stuff that I think is sticky. But let's look at some rush stuff, because I do believe, or some pass yards first, 195.5. I like this under. Already like this under. Sleeper, another square that's a very good under. Prize Picks as well, good under square. FanDuel above 193.5. I anticipate them, both of these teams, to just run. Panthers' run defense is better than anticipated. Jets can get run over all game long, as we know. And I think that this actually does lead to, again, the under, and why I'm targeting some of the running backs, but then Tet in the red zone, because I do expect there to just be ticking clock. The Dowdle versus Chuba stuff is tough because Dowdle's obviously been a freaking animal since taking over, but Chuba's a really good player. This could be a massive discount. I haven't seen any reports on how they're going to use their backfield with Chuba finally being back, and Dowdle being on fire. Of course, I would assume they don't want to just run Chuba into the ground post his injury. But with that being said, this number is so freaking low, so low. Maybe I'm missing some context. There's attempts. Yeah, there's no price here. That makes a lot of sense. We've seen a bit of fallout of flavor, but not really. I don't think that's the way to think about it, honestly. It's just touchdown, 170. I would still prefer, this is a situation where I prefer yards to touchdown, clearly, for Chuba, whereas for Tet, I prefer touchdown to yards. That's my thought process here. But I think that the Jets are going to struggle to really produce. No GW, of course, is the big news. And it's look at the Jets' weapons, Josh Reynolds, Jeremy Ruckert. I saw a lot of people on Mason Taylor, which I do actually like. What's his touchdown now? 270. I'll write that down. Taylor. Jake liked this on Wednesday, and I definitely convinced me here. The Panthers have been really bad against tight ends, and yes, the Jets offense is horrible. Justin Fields is a terrible quarterback, and they don't have the weaponry, as we know. But I think, and Mason Taylor's seen a lot of targets. Looking at some of his reception stuff here, had a 12 target game after, nil against Denver, but that was just the ugliest game ever. Playing a touch of the snaps, young rookie. Has he gotten the end zone yet this year? No, he has not. I called Tet's first TD last week. I'm with Jake here from Wednesday. Mason Taylor to score a touchdown. I think is a good one. And the rest of the Jets' weapons, they're just so incapable. I know Coker's supposed to be back for Carolina. I know a lot of people like him in dynasty circles and draft circles. Played well last year. I don't think he takes away anything from Tet or even Chuba. If he even gets 2.5 targets, I think again we stick to some of the bigger guns here, being Tet, which of course he's a dog, but then Mason Taylor for the Jets. Kind of ignoring Breece Hall and co. Philadelphia, Minnesota, we already went through, but see a lot of new people in stream. I bet Jetta's over receiving yards, TJ Hockenson over receptions. I like AJ Brown over receiving yards, and I haven't bet it yet. And I also like Jetta's touchdown, but I already dove into this one, so we'll keep rocking. LVKC, Rashee Rice is back. Look at last year, just to showcase in his minimal time played last year. 12 reception game, 7 reception game, 5 reception game. He is a guy who seriously can be an alpha for this Chiefs team, getting 10-plus targets a game. And this Chiefs offense, I expect to run on easy mode moving forward. They put up 2 of their best offensive performances. Xavier Worthy's healthy. Hollywood Brown is still very capable. Tyquan Thornton is a good deep ball threat. Kelsey does what he has to do. Their running back game is obviously tight here, but Rashee Rice, I think, really does bring their consistent element to this team. However, how much is he going to play? It's not like he's coming back from injury, right? He's coming back from suspension. I don't know how much he was allowed to practice and be around the team. So I can't really speak to what I expect his role to be right away, though I do expect by 2 or 3 weeks from now him to be getting peppered with 10-plus targets a game, absolutely. But I'm interested in Geno. 204 is just low. I know he's been down and had some terrible performances. This Washington over came a lot of that in garbage time on some deep balls down the field because Washington defense stinks. Indianapolis fully went over in garbage time. I had it over, was sweating it, and he hit by 2 yards. I think it was 226.5 in garbage time there. Then against Tennessee, couldn't do it. I just think that this number has gone a bit too low. I know that quarterbacks have not been great against the Chiefs because the Chiefs still do have a good defense. Where's my history here? QBs season. Goff went well under. Lawrence barely goes over. Lamar left early. Russ, they dominated. Hurts, they just, that was an ugly one. And then Herbert, of course, cooked. I know people think Geno's cooked, and I know Geno is cooked realistically, and this offense has bigger problems. No, Bowers has been tough for them as well, though I did see a report on Bowers. I didn't read it, though. Bowers and where is it? I just saw it. Bowers and Jacoby Myers seen participating in practice today. For whatever that's worth, Chiefs defense is good still, but I do think that this number has gone a bit too far. This 203, 115 at MGM, I think is a good bet. So I'm writing it down. Geno, 204.5 pass yards. I think it's just a bit too low, especially if they do it the garbage time. They will let him throw. So I like that as well. Some tutties, Pacheco 190, this number, he gets up to 400 at times. It's kind of crazy. Now at 190, I really don't have any interest in Pacheco at that price. Rashee Rice, man, is getting the 130 lot his first game. Could he score 2? Absolutely, but I'm not interested. However, where I am a bit interested is Hollywood still. Hollywood's a good receiver, man. 265 on Caesars. I like that. Hollywood anytime. I'm very interested in Hollywood anytime. He is of course, target shares are going to be changed and things are going to move with Rice back in the mix and with healthy Worthy. We do see some snaps shares going down across the board, but he has still had games this year where he was targeted a crap ton. 16 that first game, still an 8-piece, a 6, a 5, a 5, a 4. With all the Worthy stuff deep down the field, Rashee Rice stuff, underneath the middle of the field, Hollywood Brown gives him another long weapon. And the Raiders, of course, struggle to defend all over. I think Hollywood still is going to be a big part of this offense. And I think that his reception of 2.5 is way too low. I love this as well. I don't think it's time yet to be like Rice is back, screw him. I do think that there will be a point where it is really Rice worthy, and then like who the wide receiver 3 is. It will rotate between Juju, Marquise, and Tyquan. And then, of course, you have the new rookie, Rashard Smith. They're going to mix up a lot of things with the backfield. They have a lot of offensive guys to throw at you. But I don't think that Hollywood's dip in like usage is going to start immediately. And I do think if it was like a competition, like I guess he is behind Worthy in terms of like that deep ball threat. Worthy's, of course, better at this point in his career. And Juju's like more possession. Tyquan is like, again, deep ball, probably behind Hollywood. But on pure talent, I still think Hollywood isn't going to be the guy to get, moved out of the way like right away. Like this number is so low. Like I like all things Hollywood, honestly. I see some like dips in the numbers of snaps and targets, which is concerning with like Worthy back, even without him. But now that he could be a wide receiver 3 for a guy who was like literally drafted to be a WR1, like never lived up to it that strongly, but is still a good player. I don't think Hollywood's like the automatic odd man out, honestly. So Geno over yards and all these Hollywood props, I'm intrigued in. Could have set out the Rashee stuff for this week, but Rashee Rice is a dog. Chiefs offense is humming. I think they'll be in good spots overall. Giants Broncos. Now, I talked about this with Jake. I think that at this point, Dart is getting way too much love. I know it's an unprecedented schedule spot again with the Broncos coming back from overseas. The Giants getting extra rest from Thursday night. The spread here still sitting 7 really across the board. I think Denver kind of smokes them, honestly. Like, I don't understand the love for the Giants still. I haven't bet it because I was looking for a 6.5, but it hasn't gotten to that point. It's been staying at 7, and of course, there's time for this number to move. But I'm not buying it. And let's look at the receiving stuff because WR1 at this point for the for the Giants is Wan'Dale, but Wan'Dale is still a slot guy, right? Surtain is still out there on the outside. We've seen a lot of. Let's get to the history here. We've seen a lot of wide receivers. It's always been really like secondary guys who turn up against Surtain and the because of course Surtain's taking down your number 1. So like we saw G-Dub get held up there. Devonta Smith's the one who went nuclear while A.J. Brown didn't do much. T and Jamar couldn't do anything. Well, Yoshi Vash was the one to turn up. Quentin Johnston got to them and Keenan did, but like Ladd, who I think still is their WR1, shut down. Alec Pierce again, and Josh Downs, while Pittman was the one who suffered. But the thing is, Wan'Dale does play that role that like isn't going to be covered necessarily by Surtain. Who is I looking at? Like Lil Jordan Humphrey's a bit interesting because he just got peppered with targets, 8 targets. Is a revenge game for whatever it's worth, a Lil Jordan revenge game. Though projecting who's going to be that guy for the Giants is like tough. Hyatt went over his number, a lot of like quick passes, had a couple of catches like in succession that they just like threw it to him twice to like get some like quick yards. Though he is like generally a high A-dot deep down the field kind of player. I don't have a strong feel for props on Denver, like generally speaking, unless I'm betting some unders realistically. Let's look at like rushing for what's RJ Harvey. They've adjusted 97.5. Jaleel McLaughlin here. I'm confused by this. Is that real? Why am I Vandals 62.5? Interesting. Dobbins 63.5. Of course, Dobbins has been having a great year. Expecting it to come out of Harvey's running attempts here, which we've seen already with a big dip on. Can run the ball in the Giants. Definitely with a mix of a 3-headed backfield. I think it still is probably Harvey who sees the brunt of that. So lean toward Harvey unders as well. I hit on him last week on unders. Under rushing receiving. Let's see his rushing receiving. It's not listed. Okay. But I let Harvey under rush yards. I'm interested in here. Let's keep rocking. Colts, Chargers. So I bet the Colts money line. Looking at the market now, I got 115, so I'm like right in line with the market. Haven't seen any like proactive movement to my end on that one, which is like fine, all in the game. But with that being said here, let's look at some props. I bet Quentin Johnston under receptions. I don't think he is this high volume guy. Like we know he's not. Like he had these 2 big games here. 13 targets in 1, 9, a couple of 7s. He's always on the field, of course, coming back from an injury. But I don't think he is going to get peppered with targets the way that like Keenan has been getting, and Ladd could continue to be getting. So I think Johnston unders are a good look here. This 102 at FanDuel, 102 at DraftKings as well for 4.5. I think it's a good bet. I'm not thinking that Johnston turns up. I actually got this at a much better price. Earlier today, I got it at 117 plus 117. But I still think even with just like the pricing not being there, that it still is a good price to bet the under on Quentin Johnston. So I like his under for receiving yards, and I like the Colts on the money line. With that being said, I also saw some value on Daniel Jones passing touchdowns under 118 MGM. So this is the best price. This is what I would bet it at, absolutely, with FanDuel being the DV book at 154. He's got things going with his legs. The Chargers' run defense is pretty good. Their pass defense is pretty good. Like it's going to be a tough matchup here, and I think that just from a pricing perspective at 118. This is a really good bet to bet Daniel Jones is under. Even though I do think the Colts win, I think it will be another JT game here. So Quentin Johnston under receptions, Daniel Jones under passing touchdowns are good for me. And also we know that Josh Downs is out, and he's been connecting with Jones a bunch as well. Ladd and Keenan priced around the same, 175 for Ladd. Keenan 195. So we're still seeing the red zone targets that have been converted, but Ladd has been stealing some of these red zone targets. Of course, QJ is now back. As you see, Ladd dominating like the switch. It was like all Keenan in the red zone. Now it's a bit more Ladd, which makes a ton of sense because Ladd's a dog. I still like prefer Ladd, honestly. Lou Anarumo is a great DC, and like Keenan Allen, of course, the savvy vet who still has the hands, but Ladd is still like a really, really good player. And I think that the start to the season is like honestly undervaluing him a bit rather than, like proving he's not that great. 7.2 targets, Keenan 8.5. But I do think that scale will continue to flip toward Ladd over the course of the season as we see a bit of a change there with a little bit of an uptick for Ladd. I think that that's going to be more consistent. So I do like Ladd anytime tutty for this one. And I do like Ladd's like long season outlook. So Ladd, TS, Jones, pass TDs, Johnston, Rex. All right, let's keep rocking. A couple of games left. I'm going to do Green Bay Arizona before Washington Dallas because I have a lot of thoughts on that. And we do know there's some injury stuff here. Tucker Kraft. Big fan of Tucker Kraft again this week against Arizona. So Kraft, ATTS, I love. It's definitely a great matchup here. I know the Cardinals are a bit better on the road, at home. But I think Jordan Love and this Packers team has a chance to smoke them. The market is setting this game at now 6.5. Green Bay laying that on the road here. But I think that line makes a ton of sense. Kraft, red zone targets, one of the biggest guys here, overall targets. Only 4.4 a game, but like we know how the Packers like to do with their overall like target share, and they love to run the ball. Jacobs anytime it's going to be like minus 200, which makes sense. They love to get to that goal line, however they get there, whether Jacobs takes them there himself or they spread the ball around to get there, and then boom, they run it over to to Josh Jacobs. But I like some Tucker Kraft stuff in this one. Let's go to Washington, Dallas, and we'll get to the final 3 games. Now, this is the one that's like going to be the toughest, but I also think is going to be one of the most fun ones. This total is 54.5. Now, Terry and Debo both might not play, but also might both play. It's still TBD. But I'm interested in so many things, Dallas. Like if Washington can run the ball and drain the clock like they're incapable of doing against the Bears, but did against the Chargers, and they hold the football, that'll be very helpful. But the Dallas Cowboys offense is so good, and they're going to be able to score at will on Washington. So the best, defense being not playing defense. I don't know if Washington's going to be able to run the ball the way that they've established themselves this year as one of the best running games in football. Obviously, you got Bill, JD5 giving them some stuff. McNichols and Rodriguez have been good, but for any times like Pickens, easy. Like I hate to say easy because like obviously it's not easy, but like I also like his. Let's see if we can get a. Do we have alternate lines here? We do not. I think Pickens is like definitely good for the end zone. Lamb is back. Lamb, of course, definitely good for the end zone. Plus 110 is a little bit sneaky, but like this to me reminds me of last night where you had both T and Jamar score in like a pretty good matchup. I think this is one that can absolutely support both Pickens and Lamb to score in this game. And I know it's not groundbreaking news or anything like that, but I love Pickens and Lamb in this one to like turn the hell up. Turpin at 360, he's back. Red zone targets, we're getting a couple, so more than just like a big time major return threat at this point. This DK 390 is interesting, but I think that we can target a lot of stuff for some SGPs in this one because overall I do think that this is a game where we're going to see the fireworks. The market's telling us that, and like matchup wise, it does make sense. Let's look at some receiving yard stuff. Like Debo again, questionable. 72.5 for Lamb. Like Pickens 61.5. Now I guess the market doesn't know. What's going on, Brooklyn Blade? Thanks for the follow, bro. Appreciate it. Chilling, dog. Find some good bets. Appreciate you hopping in. So we don't know exactly how it's going to shake out with Lamb and Pickens. Of course, you do have a little bit of a sample where it's like clearly it's Lamb's team, and Pickens, of course, is like a WR2. But he's played so damn well and is so like undeniable at this point that I don't know if that Pickens is going to just like fall back to being a clear 2. Like his targets with Lamb, still a couple of 9-target games with Lamb. Of course, like a 4 and, really like a low number. This number seems so low. I'm still Pickens like overall, realistically here, in terms of stuff. Play any game. I talk game, talk football, talk baseball, talk basketball, talk UFC. Not a gaming streamer here, just a gambling streamer. So when in the Washington front, we need to see some injuries news information to make things like plausible. This Dak 260, obviously that's a big number. I think all up to 300 are like definitely live. JD 5-230 seems honestly high because I think Washington's key to success here is running the ball. And JD's has struggled to get to this number. It is so high, understandably so, but I do think that rushing stuff, I don't know if I like Daniels. I think honestly, let's Daniels like pass and rush under 273.5. I honestly like this a lot. Not just because he hasn't been going under with like the knee injury and whatnot. Like he definitely seems like healthy still, or healthy enough, but I don't think that if Washington can have any success, it needs to be on the ground. And not just Jaden like running the football, like continuously getting 3 to 5 yards a clip with JCM and some other guys here. If Debo plays, Rodriguez, Jeremy McNichols. So I think that it's the usual suspects for Dallas go off. And if you want to get a little bit deeper down the line, it's a Turpin look. But I think this is a great game for SGPs, so you can have a lot of fun with. And I think the high scoring total does make a ton of sense here. But last but not least, for Sunday, then we got 2 Monday night games. I'm intrigued by London again. I talked about this on stream Wednesday. This 160 is a great price. London anytime touchdown, 160. Something that something that I noted from the Falcons is they are so good at getting the ball to Bijan Robinson and to Drake London. They're 2 best players, and like 16 targets against Buffalo. We had a 15 against Tampa Bay, like a little bit of like a lull against Minnesota. Great defense. Carolina 8 targets, 10 against Washington. The way that they go after teams and get them to, well, I should say the way that they just put the ball into their best players' hands in space is such an underrated like talent that they have, that Jack Robinson's doing such a good job. And like it sounds so obvious because like why wouldn't you try to get your best player the ball? And like sometimes we see it like last night with Jamar Chase. Other times it's obviously nowhere near as easy said than done. as your Dundon said. But I don't think that they like deviate from what they're doing in this situation. Like, he is their best outside receiver, and the Niners are one of the worst secondaries, honestly. They have a really poor secondary, and Drake London is their guy. He's getting peppered with targets, red zone overall. Like, his receiving yards here, 37.5 is obviously high. He's getting priced like a top tier receiver, but he is definitely not in the top tier, but he's somewhere in between the second and third tier there. This number, I think this is probably priced correctly, honestly, but the touchdown I still think isn't priced correctly at all. Like, I know that we could still go to the Drake London, the Bijan Robinson of the world. You're gonna have the Algier stealing some stuff as well. It's Algier 195. Bijan is like probably minus 170 wherever he is. Where's Bijan? That's Brian Robinson. Yeah, Bijan 175. Naturally, I think London still has the value because of the way that they just give him the football still overall. Like, he's going to get peppered with targets, and you're giving me like still a price for a guy who's like not being priced like a legit WR1 should be priced at. Give me all the London. Final two games here. Tampa Bay, Detroit. Another one where it's a bit interesting to me. So the total is 52.5. Lions laying 6. Of course, the Buccaneers are somebody, or a team, I should say, that's been doing great with like coming back late in games, making some plays happen. Baker Mayfield's been absolutely on one. But are the Lions, with all their injuries, like, is this team beatable, or is this team like the better team? Now, without the injuries, I think this line at 6 makes a lot more sense. With the injuries, like Tampa Bay plus 6 honestly seems like pretty sexy, and it might seem square, but I think there is like a point where it's like the market could just be wrong on a team throughout like the course of the season. And at 7 weeks in, like, it's still not to the point where it's like where like there still could be those kind of mistakes could be there through just 7 weeks, honestly. So I think Baker and co are absolutely live in this one. I know their weapons are screwed, but at the same time, they've done a great job throughout the course of his Tampa Bay career with weapons being, hurt and dinged up to, having success. I saw some love for some St. Brown unders. This 114 at Caesars, particularly at 76.5. It's 113 at DK, actually. I get it, but I know that the secondary for Tampa's not great. I think that they're going to, continue to throw the football with Goff. This JMO, I kind of like the under here, honestly. Like, yes, he's the big play threat, but he's so inconsistent with his target share. Like, he's getting 8-7, then like a 1-piece, a 3-piece, and even in matchups you think are like better per se, he's still not getting those targets. Like Cincinnati, you'd expect them to go deep to JMO like 3 times, just deep to JMO in those games. So I actually like this Jameson under. His touchdown was at 165. Yeah, I'm anti-JMO in this one, unfortunately. But I don't have too many strong thoughts overall here. Not a game that I've got to just yet with Monday, but of course I'll be streaming on Sunday and Monday before the doubleheader to lock in some stuff here. But final look, Houston, Seattle. I definitely like Houston plus the 3.5 and the under. 3.5s are basically gone now. A lot more 3s in market. Under also down to 41.5, 41s across the board. I still do like the under as well here for pretty obvious reasons. Like, the Houston defense is really so good, and their offense I don't think is like upgraded from their last 2 performances. And I don't think that their OC, based on the way he's been running their schemes, is like somebody to anticipate, turning up and making some serious adjustments. Like, they beat the Ravens team with literally nobody on defense, and they beat a Titans team with like no heart whatsoever. So I'm intrigued by the under. And with that being said, I still I am talking crap about the Texans, but I think if they do get some pressure with this elite defense, like definitely the best defense Darnold has been seeing so far, if they can't connect on some of these big balls to JSN, that's going to be really tough for them. So JSN 85.5, 86.5 under. I know he's been smashing in his stud, but that's like, this is ridiculously priced. Like, this is like crazy, crazy high. I know it's like scary to fade a guy who's been absolutely cooking like this. But again, look at these teams he's been cooking. Terrible pass D in San Francisco, terrible pass D in Pittsburgh, terrible pass D in New Orleans. Best pass D he's played has been Arizona's gone under. Bad pass D in Tampa and bad in Jacksonville. So I like this under for JSN. actually, at the Caesars price right here. I think it's a tick too high considering the matchup and how Houston plays defense. Like, I don't think they're just going to be able to funnel to JSN like they do, as you can see with his 9.3 targets per game. So, but I don't see success, generally speaking, like elsewhere either. Like, I think this is too high for Nico also. Like, I do think this is like a classic, like, under life for bet. This is like a classic under game. Like, players are not getting wide open. Points are hard to come by. Teams are having trouble moving the football. So I'm actually in this position to fade the big players in this one. I think JSN unders and Nico unders are good. So let me run through everything that we talked about and that we are betting. Jetta's touchdown, Jetta's over receiving yards, AJ Brown over receiving yards, Hockenson over receptions, 2-2 anytime touchdown, Hunter Henry over receptions, Booty anytime touchdown, Kendre Miller touchdown, Rome Odunze over receiving yards, Achane over receptions, Judkins over receiving yards, Tet anytime touchdown, Mason Taylor anytime touchdown, Gino over passing yards, Hollywood, all things Hollywood, RJ Harvey under rush yards, Ladd touchdown, Daniel Jones under passing touchdowns, Johnson under receptions, Kraft, Pickens, Lamb anytime touchdown, London anytime touchdown, and JSN and Nico under receiving yards. So, boys, I'll wrap up like my thoughts on the props for this week. Sunday morning, I'll be streaming from 10:30 Eastern to 12:45 Eastern, so all before game time. We'll be locking in our final prop bets, any game lines that pop on EV screens to lock in, and every first touchdown and boosts that the books give us, we'll be using all of them. So make sure you guys tune in to stream Sunday morning at 10:30 Eastern. And also, if you guys want to try out props.cat, so just dropped a brand new mobile interface. It's one of the cleanest ones for player prop research I've honestly ever seen, probably the cleanest one out there. NBA is around the corner, and I'm going to be doing a lot more NBA content with props.cash, so make sure to try out the new app now. 30% off your first month, so make sure to use it in the next couple of days. Use promo code BetSmart. Get 30% off your first month because you'll have it for the first month of NBA, the next month of NFL, as well as with hockey being in full swing as well. So now's the best time to try props.cash and use promo code BetSmart to save 30% off your first month. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'll see you all Sunday at 10:30 a.m. sharp, and have a good night for betting any college football or baseball tonight. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Have a good one.